this video, I wanted to discuss the idea of how does one get in touch with the elves and fairies. I had someone message me on Facebook and they truly want to be with the fairies and meet the fairies, or be with the elves and meet the elves. And the best advice that I could give someone, because it's worked for my personal life, is to learn the level of vibration and frequency that they are at. And the way to do that is to immerse yourself in the consciousness of these beings. So one of the ways that my channel is helping people to get in touch with meeting the elves is by actually researching and analyzing the actual behaviors and mannerisms of the elves, and going deeper into the psychology of them and how they would actually be if they were here right now with us on the earth and in this dimension. And then how you can actually merge your consciousness with them in order to literally live amongst them and be an elf in your own type of way. So this is really the wisdom behind meeting the elves and meeting the fairies. The only true way that a human can actually meet the elves and the fairies is by actually becoming one themselves. And I know this is kind of hard to believe, but there are so many legends and myths in the idea that when a human is drawn into the land of fairy, they never can return back to the normal world. And this was seen as a cautionary tale to humans that, oh, if you get caught, by a fairy, or if you get dragged into the fairy realm, then that would be the end of your human life, and you would be stuck there forever. You can see that as a negative, but I choose to actually see that as a positive. And I have actually experienced this type of reality within my own life. As soon as I started to open up the door more to my elven self, whereas I dress like an elf, I listen to elven type music, I surround myself with elven images, I run an elven Facebook group, I actually think of ways of how I can daily express myself as an elf. I stay out in nature more. I do what I can to help the earth. When you actually merge consciousness with an elemental being, such as an elf, you truly are meeting with them in your higher consciousness. Right now, I feel that I in my mind, I actually do understand the elves very well, and I live amongst their community. And I think a lot of humans are actually coming into this reality, and this is why a lot of people are coming into the groups, and we have the Universal Elven Society growing, and there's a lot of different types of groups out there, and organizations that cater to these types of people that are coming into their elven soul, and they're merging with this consciousness to have more of an earth conscientious soul, and to do what they can for earth, and to help heal it, and to help heal themselves and help heal others. That's something that the elves really have. It's not just they're not just here to heal the earth, the energy is here to also heal the human spirit. So much has been lied to humans about beauty and about self-worth, and has kind of trapped humans into one aspect of beauty. And the elves are here to show that there's something very beautiful within really harnessing the self-love about your natural state and your origin, in the sense that you don't have to go through all of these changes to discover your love for yourself. If you actually go to the basic, to the core of your soul, of who you are and who you were born as, you may find that when you start to love that person, flaws and all, this is when you are in touch with that natural side of yourself. And the elven spirit is really about bringing in more nature and natural beauty into the world, where we are so used to, as humans, the processed and mechanical and, technology type of beauty. And that's great in moderation, but we mustn't forget the raw, authentic beauty of nature. And so when you want to meet the elves and the fairies, you really do have to merge consciousness. They don't hang around those that are in lower consciousness and that are not going to understand their ways. If they're going to invite you into their world, you really do need to open yourself up to that energy. My suggestion is to immerse yourself with the Lord of the Rings, if you haven't already, and get to know the elves in their personality and in their mannerisms. There's lots of different books on them. Also, learn more about the Elven Star and the Blue Fairy tradition and where that idea came from. And I really do believe that the Pleiadians really live very elven-like. So if you are interested and you kind of resonate more with the starry elves and the galactic elves, then definitely pick books up on the Pleiadians and learn about the way that they live in their communities with unity and love at their forefront. And I believe that when you start to actually merge yourself into this kind of state and this consciousness, and you dress and you act and your mannerisms become more elven-like, this is when that portal is opened up. And you won't be able to see it, but you will be able to feel it in your heart. And this is the best advice I can give people, because you can't expect to meet elves and fairies at the level of consciousness that you have if you have a lower state of consciousness and you're feeling, bad about yourself, or you're concerned about certain human aspects, and if you have any kind of hold-ups and are attached still to the material world, it's going to be harder for you to get into that higher state of consciousness in which you can open the portal of the fairy realm and meet with these beings. And they will come to you in dreams, and they will come to you in visions. Feel them very close to you, and they'll be smiling at you, and they'll be accepting you, and you can feel it very, very close to your heart. One of the things that they say is that when you start to actually embrace the symbol of the 7-pointed star, and I started wearing a necklace, and I did realize that I was kind of opening myself up to this energy. When you start to immerse yourself with that image, it is kind of like a stargate. It's supposed to open up a portal. So you really do have to be prepared, because the moment that you have a symbol like that, and it's around in your room or it's around in your house, it does kind of open up that bridge and that portal. So you do have to have full intention that you are really ready to do that. So that's another one of my advice, is actually to merge yourself with that 7-pointed star. It really symbolizes the 7 elements that are within our universe. And yes, I mean, we only know of 4 right now, but then there's a 5th, the ether, and then there is 6 and 7. And that's light, and there's truth. Light is truth. And then the 8th is actually wisdom. So there's a lot of ways that you can actually start to merge your consciousness with the elves and with the fairies. And I kind of gave a little bit of hints of how the fairies are different than the elves. And you may resonate more with the fairies, and you may resonate more with the elves. They do live together in that same dimension and in that reality, and they're very good friends, but they do act differently towards humans. Meeting with the fairies may be easier. Meeting with the elves does take a little bit more work to align yourself to their frequencies and vibrations. Fairies are curious about souls of all different levels of consciousness, and they are very friendly, and they will be very willing to help someone who is interested in meeting them. But to meet the elves, you actually have to become an elf, and that is really the best advice I can give. You may not be fully elven-like until you meet them, and what you might have is a guide that might come into your reality, which was it's a version of yourself. It's a version of your highest possible self. So if you love elves and you feel that you are really connected to that angelic fae kind of realm, and you want to tap into that, you may start to meet that one of your higher souls will be elven. And I've seen some people talk about this within the group, and I've seen some other videos. There are some people that actually draw themselves, or they come up with an elven name, or they have an image of what they look like, and that really helps you to get in touch with what your elven soul looks like. I kind of explained what I thought my elven soul looks like in my first video. I said, she was the same size as me and looks very similar to me, has a crown, and is kind of iridescent colors, like all different types of colors and see-through. I don't really see myself having a physical body in my higher soul image. But there's an outline of me as a feminine energy, elven type of being. And I think people, when they draw what their elven self looks like or comes up with a name, giving yourself a name is very important too, because words do have a lot of power. And the moment I gave myself my name of Kimberell Eventide, I started to get more in touch with my true identity. That name was kind of given to me as a nickname. It was a nickname from my husband, but I took to it because a lot of elven names end in EL, and I thought that was a perfect name for me, and it has a sentimental value. And Eventide is kind of a take on even star, but it has tide at the end because I have more of a water element to me. So I truly do believe that when you give yourself an elven name, when you draw your own self as an elven one, when you have an image, even if you can't draw, but if you just kind of create an image of what you look like, that really does help you to merge your consciousness together. And then all it takes is for you to kind of practice this, practice what you want and what you desire. So if you want to be with the elves, you want to meet the elves, you really do have to surround yourself with elven type of friends and people. So look for those groups on Facebook, look for the groups online that are not necessarily on Facebook. There's a lot of those types of groups where people really do take to the idea that's their identity, that's who they are, and they carry themselves that way in their life. They are fit. They go out archery and do lots of different sports like horseback riding and these kinds of things that make them feel more elven-like. They do a lot of hiking, they go out into nature, and when you immerse yourself with those types of people, it is going to give you more of a sense of inner peace, because if you are truly someone who is looking to get in touch with the elves and the fairies, and you truly want to be like them, or you feel that that's your soul, that's your higher soul in another dimension and in another reality, then when you start to act like it and partake in the activities that elves would on this earth, that really helps you to join with them. And then when you sleep at night, you will be able to visit those realms, and they are deep in your subconscious. So then they become a part of you. And who's to say that you won't eventually meet them when you take your last breath on earth? And that would be a version of your heaven. Who knows? But if you are truly searching for the elves, they will find you, in a sense. So make sure that you're doing the work that you need to. Make sure that you're always being kind, and you're learning wisdom and learning how to discern between light and dark, and really walking down the path of lightness versus the darkness. Because the elves will really be attracted to you once you are walking down the same path that they are. They really do like to deal with people that have struggled and have learned and kind of triumphed and become warriors within. And those are the types of souls that elves tend to merge with, because they themselves are peaceful warriors. So you have to kind of go through your struggles and your trials and your obstacles. You don't have to be perfect, but you will start to get your elven guide to kind of help you along the way. And if you want to meet the fairies, just be open-hearted, loving and kind in your heart, joyful and cheerful, and have a open mind about meeting these higher frequency beings, and you will meet them. Since the elves and fairies live in the 7th dimension of the angelic fae realm, this is the area of the 7th dimension. This is the crown chakra. So you yourself then have to rise into that dimension of divine love, unconditional love, mercy, forgiveness, feeling connected to the divine. When you are walking around with that level of consciousness and state of being, you are going to be vibrating at that 7th dimension of consciousness. And that is where you will be able to align with those beings that live in that state always and consistently. They are always connected to the divine. They are always loving and merciful and kind. So this is where these beings live at. And once you are vibrating at that level of crown chakra, and you can learn all about the crown chakra on this earth and understand how to get there naturally, then that is where you will be able to join with the fairies and elves and the angels of the angelic fae realm. And they will be right there for you to meet. So I hope that this helps you a lot and gives you more clarity on how you can meet them. So thanks a lot for listening, and I will see you in the next video.